Hello, welcome everyone. About to start in a minute. Just wanted to jump on. Okay. As soon as we are ready to start. Thank you everyone for coming. And again, if you have any questions to ask, feel free to put it in the chat. We'll try to get to it later. Definitely a great topic that I'd love to share with everyone. So we're going to wait a minute just to more people get on. Again, procrastination is a topic that I talk about all the time, especially as a time management coach. So it comes up quite frequently in terms of what to do when you don't want to do what actually needs to get done. It's funny, actually, I saw Faye put a story just today about overcoming procrastination, so happy to jump on that. So I guess we'll start in a minute just to let some more people on. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box. Any questions, I'd be happy to help with that. Okay, so we're going to start in about 15 seconds or so. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So just wanted to share a little bit today. My name is Freedman. I am a time management coach. I help a lot of business owners and professionals, help them with overcoming procrastination, to be able to structure their day, to make sure they're doing the most important stuff in their day. A little bit of my background, I was a therapist previously, and I found myself getting super overwhelmed in terms of my responsibilities for the day-to-day, and I was always pushing things off and always procrastinating, and I found myself just completely swamped with life and swamped with everything else. And I had my own personal journey, my own personal transformation, where I locked myself in my office, and I just binged a program on how to keep myself organized, and I took a course on time management and a course on procrastination and a course on how to overcome distractions. And that's really how my journey began in terms of where we are today. So just wanted to share in terms of procrastination. We're going to really go into the causes of procrastination, and then give some real actionable strategies that could be helped towards overcoming procrastination. And again, as I said before, any questions, please feel free to put it in the question chat. So the first thing that when we find ourselves with procrastination, and a lot of procrastination looks very different for different people, right? There's no one size fits all. A lot of things that we procrastinate because of one reason or other. And what procrastination really is when we push off a certain task or a certain group of tasks that really is important for us to do, right? So whether that's exercising, whether that's writing an email to someone, whether that's applying for a job, whether that's cleaning our room, whether that's preparing healthy food, whatever that is for us, we know that we need to do it. We know in the back of our minds, this is super important. This is something that is going to make my life make a big difference in my life. It's urgent to actually take care of, and yet we find ourselves not taking care of it, not actually taking action. So what is that cause? What holds us back from actually taking action that we know is important and we know will be good for us? So there are really 4 causes of procrastination that I found. The 4 causes of why we push things off and why we don't take action. The first one is called time inconsistency. This is a concept that I saw from James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, who talks about when we think about the short term versus the long term. We know that, let's say, for example, I want to eat healthy so I can have a healthy body. And we know that the short term of eating a healthy meal is one action that we want to take, or whether it's going for a workout or eating healthy, that's a short term element. The long term is the goal that we want to get to, is the being healthy and feeling better about ourselves and feeling better in our body. But the short term and the long term don't often match up, because by eating healthy for one meal or doing one workout, that's not going to help us in terms of being healthy. It's not each individual meal is one stepping stone of that process. So we often we want to do something because we know it's good for us, and at the same time, we don't see the immediate results of that action. So it's a lot more comfortable and a lot more delicious to eat something that says fattening than to eating the healthy food. Or it's a lot more comfortable to sit on the couch and watch Netflix than to actually go out and do a workout. So that's one called time inconsistency. When it comes to a lot of different parts of our life, we also procrastinate because there's a fear of failure. When we put ourselves out there, when we call someone or we text someone or we email someone, and or let's say we're in business and we try to submit a proposal and someone wants our services, oftentimes we're nervous to actually reach out because we're afraid they're going to reject us. They're afraid that we're going to say, nah, I'm not interested. Nah, you're not the right person. Nah, it's not something that I'm looking for. And that fear of failure often holds us back from taking the proper action. There's another part, which I've been working with a few businessmen recently, that there's also that fear of success. Like, let's say I'm working as a coach, that's what I am, and I go and I propose services to someone. I reach out and say, you know what, if you'd like to hear more about what I do, I'm here to serve you. And what if they say yes? Do I have that ability to serve them properly? Do I have that capacity? Do I have time in my schedule to be able to service them? So that's a lot of times also that fear of success that comes up in terms of if I take this action and I'm nervous of what's going to happen if they actually say yes. So those are 3 different elements of procrastination. And the last one is probably the most frequent one that I come across is we have this big project that we know we need to do, right? We want to work on a home-related project. We want to organize our pantry. We want to, whether it's a business, we want to scale our business. We want to grow our marketing. What steps do we need to take to be able to grow our marketing, to be able to organize our pantry? There are so many different things that we need to do, right? There are so many different steps that we can take to move ourselves in the right direction, and we oftentimes don't know where to start. And we envision that we need to take this we have a 3-hour project, and who has 3 hours in their day to actually spend on a project? So because it's too overwhelming, then I'm just going to procrastinate and push it off. The consequences of procrastination, again, some things are very insignificant. If I push off certain tasks, it's not really going to make a big impact in my life. But other things, oftentimes they're important, they're not urgent, and we don't have that sense of urgency. I'm going to push myself to really do it. And then as I push it off, the urgency grows and grows until it becomes more catastrophic and more important for that. So those are really the 4 key elements of understanding why we're procrastinating, right? So first is the time inconsistency, because the short-term gain is not sufficient to push us over doing something else instead that's more comfortable. There's a fear of failure, there's a fear of success, and then there's also a lack of clarity. Oftentimes we have this big project that we don't know where to start. So those are 4 different causes of procrastination. And the reason why that's important to have the cause and to know why we're procrastinating is because that's really the first step in overcoming procrastination, is to really understand and to think about, why am I procrastinating? This thing has been on my to-do list for weeks. It's been on my list for months. And I still have not given myself that ability to actually take the action. So the first step really is to build that awareness and to build that recognition of what is it about this task, what is it about this project that's holding me back from actually taking action. So I think that's a really critical element to start with in terms of understanding, why am I procrastinating? And again, it looks very different for different people. So if you have something on your list, let's say you think about something in your mind, an email that you still haven't sent or you haven't replied to, or a phone call you haven't made, or a research project you haven't started, or a proposal to a client or to a therapist reaching out and saying, I want to obtain your services or I want to work with you, why are you not reaching out? Why are you pushing it off? Is it because it's not comfortable and therefore I don't feel that urge to actually do it? Am I afraid of what's going to happen if they do say yes or if they do say no? Or I don't even know where the first step is to start. So when it comes to stopping procrastination, so that's obviously it's great. Like we have this, like, okay, I know why I'm procrastinating. So how do I actually overcome that procrastination? So we're going to get into today, we're going to get into 10 actionable strategies that can be used to help overcome procrastination. And again, these are all, I would say, more like a toolbox. These are all different things that we can have in our arsenal. We can have as different tools that can be used in different situations. Again, sometimes we'll be able to use one. Sometimes one won't work and we'll try something else. Sometimes we'll use a combination of multiple tools. So these are 10 actionable tools that we can do, strategies that we can use, and tools that we have that will help us actually overcome that procrastination. The first one is really, sometimes we have these things on our list and we know we need to do them, but we don't always remember why it's important. let's say I have this email I need to respond to, or I have this person I want to call. Why is that important to actually take that action? Why is it important to actually make that phone call? And oftentimes we know, like, it's good to be healthy. It's good to take to get a workout in. But why is it so important? And if we think about the bigger picture, we think about the broader element, and we think about, like, I was working with a client who was struggling with bedtime, and she was averaging like a 3 to 4 a.m. bedtime, and it was really impacting her ability to function the rest of the day. And she was taking a nap, and because of that, she wasn't able to get a job because she was too tired. And we talked about the understanding of why is she procrastinating getting into bed, and because she was not really recognizing the impact of why it is important to get to bed early, right? So it was just like, okay, I'm gonna get to bed at whatever point I get into bed, whatever time I'm tired. But in the reality, the impact of that actually was, not only did she not have as much energy during the day, she also wasn't able to walk her daughter to the bus stop in the morning, and that was actually one of the reasons why she wanted to work on it. So having that goal, saying, I want to be able to actually get to bed at a normal time, let's say 12, 1 o'clock for her, which was 2-3 hours of progress, had that big why of, I can actually walk my daughter to the bus stop in the morning and give her that grounding element of her day, that she can know that she's starting off her day on a great foot. So that's step one, is clarifying the goal. Step two is when we have a project that's overwhelming. Let's say, for example, working with clients on trying to study for the LSATs. That was one of the things that we had talked about. And again, he wanted to get into law school. It was one of these big projects. And okay, I just need to study, right? To open a book and study, right? So that seems overwhelming because there's no set structure in place for that person to be able to get their work in order. So the next action wasn't just to open a book and study. The next action was to try to map out how many chapters there were in the book, and at what point did he want to be finished with studying before the exam, right? So if he just jumped straight into a book, that's very overwhelming, and you're not sure if you're going to finish on time, or you're not sure if it's the right, you're going at the right pace. So the next action wasn't to open his book and start studying. Rather, the next action was to take a step back and say, I'm going to spend 10 minutes just mapping out what it is that's necessary for my full preparation for the LSATs. And again, that was a great example of where he was focusing on the next action of just studying. And really the next action was, I'm going to just take a few minutes and just to map out what a good pace would be to study for the test. What's the next physical action? Sometimes I need to discuss it with someone. Sometimes I need to talk it out with someone. Sometimes I need to research online for a couple minutes. So finding out what the next action is really key. The third strategy that could be used is, what's called gamifying, right? Sometimes we have this, let's say, for example, we want to jog, and we want to get ourselves up and running and be able to get some movement in our day. And what's pushing us back is that it's not so comfortable. We're really not so excited about it. And again, that's very normal for a lot of people. But there are ways that you can make it exciting in a way where, again, you could see how many songs you listen to as you're jogging. You can see how far you can get. You can see how fast you can go. And if you can break a personal record, all those different things are ways that you can gamify it, where you just make it more exciting. And if you're trying to, let's say you're working as a coach or a therapist and you're trying to do some reach outs, how many calls can I make within an hour? Or how many messages can I send, right? Or how much of my website can I develop in the time allotted? So if we use it as more like a game in terms of trying to make it more exciting, even though it's not naturally exciting, but try to think of ways where you could actually take it where it's a mundane task, but you can try to make it a little bit more exciting, whether it's adding music or something else like that. So whether it's, again, you can also have a competition with other people. If you want to make a competition with a friend of yours or accountability partner and say, I'm going to spend a couple minutes now taking action on this task. Let's see who can start first. And again, just trying to make it more exciting and achievable. The next one is when we think of things that we're procrastinating on, a lot of times it's because that we don't see the immediate benefit. We don't see that excitement right away and say, I'm going to achieve that goal because it's a larger project. So another another tool that could be used is to try to make some sort of consequence more immediate. Meaning we can have that set ourselves like some mini goals, right? If I, instead of doing this entire project, and after this project I'm going to give myself some sort of celebration, what about after I start the first chapter? Or what about if I just take action and I spend an hour, and I quote unquote reward myself after an hour? Again, obviously we're not talking about these lavish rewards and these huge parties, but again, something that's like I can go out for a nice walk, or I can grab us a Powerade from the local store, or get a nice coffee. Those are or manicure or massage or whatever it is, right? Those are little mini rewards that we can give ourselves to make it feel more exciting there. And again, sometimes we can have the positive consequences where we give ourselves a little reward. Alternatively, we also can make the consequences of not doing it a little bit more now in the moment as well. Again, you can have yourself an accountability partner, whether you have, let's say, if you're trying to work out and you can work out with someone, or you can hire a trainer, or just go to a gym and you'll see other people there. Just ask a friend if they can hold you accountable after a week, hire a coach, whatever it is, making the consequences both positive and negative more immediate to push ourselves to keep going in that task that we know really is important and really we should be doing. The fifth strategy that could be used is, again, we look at these, oftentimes we look at these projects and say, like, there's so much to do and there's so much I need to get done. And because of that, I've worked with clients who say, like, oh, this project, this email proposal is going to take me 5-6 hours to write. And who has 5-6 hours in the middle of the day? I'm still busy running my business. I'm still busy with other stuff. And because they don't have 5-6 hours, they end up not doing anything. So the alternative to that is we can break it into 10-minute chunks, break it into 10-minute increments, and just put a timer for 10 minutes and say, I'm just going to start for 10 minutes. And whatever I get done in 10 minutes, great. If I finish in 10 minutes, that's awesome. If not, then that's okay, as long as I know that I started. Because oftentimes what's holding us back from actually taking the action is that initial hump of getting over, I just need to get started. And if we can even just take a little strategy to push us over the edge and say, I'm just going to do it for 10 minutes, and I'm going to not think about the 5 or 6 hour project that it's going to take, or I'm not going to think about this is something I need to do for the next 6 months. Rather, just taking it one step at a time, just 10 minutes. What's the next thing I can do for 10 minutes? That also is helpful for helping us overcome procrastination. Okay. Again, just if anyone has any questions, no questions right now. But any questions, then feel free to put it in the chat. When it comes to tool number 6, is design your future ahead of time. What this means is, if I know that I'm procrastinating on a certain task, or I know I'm procrastinating on a certain element, right? Let's say, for example, using exercise. I know that I constantly pushing off doing exercise. So what we could do is design our future in a way which is going to support doing that task. So for example, if we keep our sneakers next to our bed, and when we wake up, we're going to put our sneakers on, that's a way of setting us up to be more likely to actually take those actions. Or if I know that I want to do a jogging route in the neighborhood, and I map out beforehand, and I say, you know what, my action is just going to be find a good route where I can go for a mile walk, or for a 3-mile jog, or for a 5-mile bike ride. That really is going to help us that we're lessening the resistance to actually taking action on those steps. Okay. And another element of that really is when a lot of times we procrastinate and we end up getting busy with other stuff. Let's say games on our phone or certain apps that we get involved with. And if we're able to design our future in advance, meaning we can delete certain games or we can delete certain apps from our phone that are not supporting us, and when we procrastinate, we end up going towards those games, that's another way where we can really be proactive in terms of helping us avoid procrastination. Okay. The 7th tool, again, these tools can each be used individually as well as all in one shot. You can create deadlines, right? And again, so a lot of times we give ourselves that concept of, this is a big project I need to finish. And sometimes we give ourselves, let's say you're thinking about a research paper for a college, right? And I have all these different parts of the research paper that need to get done. And I was actually just working with a college student about this on Thursday, where he had 3 different semesters, 3 different classes he's taking, and each one had an end of semester assignment. So what we did was we really mapped out for each of the projects, for each of those classes, what the project is and all the steps that are involved that between now and the end of the semester. So what ended up happening is that he knows, okay, my goal for the end of February is to be done with just picking a topic. And my goal for mid-March is to have a thesis written and to start with an intro paragraph. And if we can create those mini deadlines for ourselves that could be used to take that big project and that big overwhelming thing that we're procrastinating on and breaking it down into smaller chunks, that also is very helpful for moving forward and making progress on that. Okay, strategy number 8 and the tool number 8 that we can use is to envision the outcome. And a lot of times when we again, especially when it comes to fear of rejection or fear of success, and we are procrastinating, let's say reaching out to someone, let's say we're reaching out to a shadchan and we're afraid that they're going to say no, or we're reaching out to a shadchan and they're afraid that they're going to say yes. Whatever that is for you, trying to envision what's the worst possible outcome that could happen when you take this action, and what's the best possible outcome. And oftentimes we think about these, like we dread what these outcomes could be, and it's like the end of the world, and sometimes it is pretty bad, but other times really it's not as bad as we're thinking. It's like, okay, I'll reach out to a shadchan and she'll say, okay, I don't have anyone for you right now, and I'm going to keep thinking about you, right? So that's not the end of the world, right? That's not, we're envisioning like this, she's going to say no and think that we're out of our minds. Rather, it's really, no, the worst case scenario is if I reach out to her, again, if it's in a timely manner where it makes sense to reach out, worst case scenario, she says no, then it's easier to just envision that and think, what's the worst that'll happen? And I'm going to take that and to implement that. Okay. The ninth tool and strategy that could be used is called temptation building. So actually, this is funny. So Faye was doing a story, an Instagram story just before, about how she was responding to emails as well as exercising at the same time and really batching it together. And again, that was an example of 2 things that we don't want to do, putting them together, which again seems like hard to imagine. We actually push ourselves to actually do that. But what if there was something that we could do that's positive? Let's say there's something that I do enjoy. Let's say I enjoy listening to music, and I know that I need to exercise or I need to do some focus work, and we bundle those together. Let's say we have a special playlist that we listen to when we're working out, or even laundry. Like I know some people, like folding laundry is very exhausting and we don't want to do it and we push it off. But maybe we can listen to a shir or listen to a podcast or watch something as we're doing that. That's a way to really bundle something positive with something negative that we don't want to do, that we're pushing off. And that's a way to really push ourselves to make it less annoying or make it somewhat more enjoyable, even though it's a mundane task that we're trying to avoid. Again, I know there was one example that I once saw, that if someone has a lot of work they need to catch up on, and they, whether it's emails or whether it's work-related stuff, and I've seen where people recommend getting a pedicure while you're processing overdue work emails, because again, obviously you can't do it with a manicure, but a pedicure could be where I have my hands free, and that's a time where I'm gonna pamper myself, but at the same time, that's gonna push me to do some tasks that I don't really want to do, but it's gonna make it more enjoyable like that. I was working with a principal of a school, and again, it's hard for him to actually get his focus work done. It was hard for him to actually make sure that he's doing stuff that's for the benefit of the larger school element. So what happened was that he when he wanted his focus time, he would actually go to the local coffee shop and do some work there, because it made it more focused and made it more exciting that he was able to do his focus work while enjoying himself at the coffee shop. And the last rule, and again, this is a pretty well-known rule, and again, for those that don't know it, I'm going to share it now. Mel Robbins has a concept called the 5-second rule. And this, again, could be used in conjunction with other things. In terms of what she deemed the 5-second rule is when you don't want to do an action and you don't want to push yourself to do it, then there's a psychological element that if you count backwards from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just push into it, then you're able to take the action even though it's not enjoyable and it's not as exciting. So again, first thing first is that if we know why we're procrastinating, it's more helpful to be able to actually implement that. But in terms of using that as a tool, when they say, you know what, I know I need to get out of bed in the morning, and I'm just sitting there and I haven't gotten out of bed, I'm going to just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just jump out of bed, right? Again, you can think about the other strategies used in terms of thinking about the bigger picture, why it's important for me to get out of bed. I could try to make it exciting and say, how quick can I get out of bed after my alarm, and make like a little game for yourself. Or you can have an accountability partner and have someone check in with you and say, okay, what time did you get out of bed this morning? So all these things could be used in tandem and in conjunction with each other. So I would definitely recommend taking the 10 strategies and using them as it comes up. So just to recap all the 10 strategies, again, first things first is understanding why we're procrastinating. Again, that's a first step in terms of overcoming procrastination, is to really think about and self-reflect, why am I procrastinating? Is it because I just don't feel that the reward for doing that action actually is going to justify the uncomfortableness? Is it fear of rejection, fear of failure, or it's not comfortable and I don't know what the next action is, it's too overwhelming? And then the 10 strategies that we talked about, again, clarifying what the goal is, determining what the next action is, trying to gamify it to make it more exciting, make the consequences more immediate, whether it's positive or negative consequences, just doing it in 10-minute increments, trying to set up your environment to be more conducive to taking action, creating mini deadlines for that, envisioning what the worst case scenario and the best case scenario could be, putting it together with something that's exciting, and then also, lastly, the 5-second rule on that. So happy to answer questions now, stay on for a couple minutes. Anyone questions specifically for what are you procrastinating on? What do you find that you are not taking the action that you need to do? And then again, if I'm still staying on for questions, but if you have any questions for me, just feel free. Avi Freedman and Managed Minds is my Instagram handle. I do a lot of my work on LinkedIn as well. And happy to just help with any way possible for answering specific questions. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. So if there are no questions, then I want to thank everyone for coming. I appreciate you being here. Again, happy to answer any questions in my DMs. I'll post my link and information there as well. And if anyone has any, again, if you'd like to schedule a chat, just if you have something, whether it's time management or whether it's procrastination, or you're curious about how to set up your schedule in a conducive way, happy to be helpful with that as well. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, OKclarity, for allowing me to use the platform to share this value, and wishing everyone a great night.